Meet Michael Duvall, an American TikToker with 800,000 plus followers and falling, who in March of 2025 was exposed for some extremely heinous actions. You see, Michael is a preschool worker who on the side creates adult content, and recently, Big Mike was forced into apologizing for creating said adult content in the preschool that Mike works in. And yes, that's not a joke, that is a genuine thing that Michael has been getting exposed for around over a year now, but recently this story has only just gone viral. But I am here today to tell you that this story is far deeper and has gone on for far longer than everybody initially realized. But regardless of that, in March of 2025, Michael has received a large amount of criticism for this whole thing, and it has led to people claiming that the police should be getting involved, and even to this day, more and more exposés keep on coming out. And in today's video, what I want to do is pretty much explore this story from start to finish and really work out, well, how did we get here? Is Michael as terrible as everybody says he is? Is his apology on the level of Colleen Ballinger? And is this yet again another case of a social media influencer having their brain absolutely destroyed and mushed to pieces by a desire to get more views and ultimately get more money? So yes, my friends, join me once again on another horrific journey into the story of another horrific TikToker. But before we do that, I do just want to put a little request out there and say, could you please subscribe to the YouTube channel? Obviously, these videos take quite a long time to make. I would really appreciate it. And who knows, if we get, 1.1 million subscribers, maybe I'll go on a live tour and maybe I'll start charging you guys $900 a ticket. But yes, regardless of that, let's get into this heinous, terrible, god-awful story. Because yes, TikTokers, they really can't help themselves, and at this point it does just kind of feel that every single day there is a new TikToker on the block who is just here to get absolutely lambasted for doing something absolutely insane. And Michael Duvall is just this week's case of that. And that starts us off with Michael's TikTok account, because yes, Michael is a TikToker with 800,000+ followers. It's probably going to be less soon, and he posts, I'm not really sure what you could define this genre of content as. Lifestyle content, daily vlogs. Pretty much Michael just kind of shows his life on a day-to-day basis, and yeah, overall, the content, it's not exactly my cup of tea, which is, perfectly fine if there wasn't a bunch of heinous stuff that we're going to get into. But a big thing that Michael has spoken about in some of his TikToks is his full-time job. Because yes, Michael wasn't always a full-time TikToker, and for a good period of time, he kind of documented his life, and that included his job, which of course, as I mentioned, was being a preschool teacher. And given the current events that I'm speaking about in today's video, at the time of when Michael has been getting exposed in March of 2025, a TikTok started to resurface and go viral where Michael documented his average day as a preschool teacher. And honestly, I have a lot of issues with this TikTok in general because he shows the children that he works with, and in general, he shows the nursery or daycare center that he works at. And honestly, it's just a little bit concerning in my personal opinion.
What's up, girly? Welcome to the day in the life of a preschool teacher. This was definitely highly requested and it took a lot of time to edit, so I really hope you like it. Start off every morning by taking a shower, blow dry my hair, and then I'm ready to do my little skincare.
Yeah, honestly, I might upset a few people here, but the moment I saw that Hello Kitty, I knew something was up. Look, if you like Hello Kitty, fair enough, but there is a correlation with the fact that so many people get exposed for being insane or doing something terrible, and they own some piece of Hello Kitty merchandise. I'm not saying all of you are bad, but there's definitely some of you.
I'm always going to do my makeup before work because if I don't look my best, I'm not going to feel my best. I got to take some iced coffee with me. Right now this Dunkin' Brownie iced coffee is so freaking good. This cup is huge. It's definitely not going to fill it up.
I mean, we're not even at the serious points, but I'm just looking at that thinking, there must be like a severe diabetes crisis in America. You're waking up with that. I mean, get some eggs in you, son. What are you doing? Look, again, this isn't really anything necessary to anything we're talking about today, but if you're waking up and you're having that first thing in the morning, I'm concerned for your health and your well-being in general. But sorry, let's actually get into the contents. I can't get into the content because the first thing he's having, it's like sugar cubes in there, and now he's putting whipped cream, but on top of that, chocolate sauce. Look, again, I'm not exactly someone to judge everyone's diets, but what are you doing? But yeah, eventually he moves on and gets in his car at 6 in the morning. And yeah, as you can see, he turns up at the nursery, preschool, daycare, whatever you want to call it in whatever country that you guys are from. I call it preschool. Some people call it daycare. We're just going to call it preschool.
I have just a little bit before the kids show up, so I'll take this time to get my classroom together and set up their breakfast.
So yeah, this gets into the immediate issue that I have with this TikTok before we go into any of the major issues, and that's the fact that he shows large portions of this preschool that he's working at, and I genuinely do think that's worrying if you're a TikToker with a platform of 800,000 plus people, because who knows who is in that audience. And now, I'm not suggesting that Michael is deliberately trying to get bad people to come to the preschool, but I think if you're a TikToker with a large platform, you should be very, very cautious if you are vlogging content in your life where your job is being a preschool teacher and you are surrounded by children on a day-to-day basis. I feel like the obvious thing for any teacher out there is the number one rule is to protect your students or to protect the children that you are working with on a day-to-day basis. And personally, I just don't necessarily agree with exposing the location like he is doing here in this TikTok. Some people will say he's not necessarily directly saying what nursery it's at, but as you go further into this TikTok, he just shows more and more and more of the preschool or nursery. And to me personally, I think it would be very easy for someone to find where this location. In fact, people have found the location to this preschool. It's very easy to do so, and I just think this is quite irresponsible in my personal opinion. It's not the worst thing that Michael has done in today's story, but it does kind of start us off on a very negative note. And it only gets a bit worse when you go further into the day in my life TikTok, where he actually starts to show not the full body of some of the kids, but he starts to show their arms, and I just feel a little bit uncomfortable about even including these kids in this vlog. These kids aren't there to be vlogged. They're not a part of your TikTok series. They're there to learn, to just, enjoy themselves and to grow up. They're not there to be in Michael Duvall's TikTok series. And again, you may say, don't you think you're reaching? I personally don't. I feel very uncomfortable in any case where I see a teacher vlogging all of their students. They didn't ask to be there. They didn't request to be in it. It's just Michael, for some reason, feeling the need to include these kids and expose the location of where they go to school or preschool. But yes, this does kind of establish who Michael Duvall is. He is an American TikToker who vlogs his day-to-day life. And at, yes, one point of time between the years of around 2022 and 2023 and maybe even 2024, he was a preschool teacher. Now, the interesting thing is about Michael is he is definitely, even before all of these exposés and situations, he is a polarizing figure. As I did more and more research into looking into this guy, it definitely does seem that he has a lot of people that over the years just generally don't like him for his personality, for what he uploads, but also, as I said previously, this situation has been ongoing for a very, very long time, and Michael has deliberately buried this story until he no longer could. He has basically silenced people and done everything he can to just stop this story getting out there. So with the general dislike and animosity towards Michael, these things have all mixed in together over the last few years, and it has led to the exposés that we're going to get into now. Because yes, with the building dislike towards Michael getting bigger and bigger by the day, this of course led to leaks surrounding Michael's adult content. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where I need to introduce a new player. Well, it's not a new player, but it's a new type of Michael into this story. Introducing Gay Pretty Boy. Now, Gay Pretty Boy is... I can't even say that seriously. Gay Pretty Boy is an account that Michael ran on Twitter and Reddit. Now, in my opinion, this account starts to get into some of the issues that I mentioned previously surrounding protecting the children that Michael was working with at the preschool that hired him between the years of around 2022 to possibly 2024. But what's interesting is Gay Pretty Boy on Reddit, the account has now been deleted, and this very much does play into what I said earlier of how Michael has very much articulated this story to kind of fit his narrative, where he has tried to bury so many pieces of evidence, and gay pretty boy is a big part of the evidence in this story, and Michael, take note, has tried to get rid of it. But yeah, some of the leaked posts from this account started to concern a lot of individuals out there. For example, this one that you can see right here, where in multiple NSFW subreddits, he briefly speaks about being a teacher and loving kids. Now, obviously, I'm not going to come on here and be disingenuous and claim that this obviously means that he's a terrible criminal and he needs to go to jail for loving kids. I'm not going to take the words out of context like that. Obviously, what I think he's referring to here is he loves working with kids. It's fine to say you love kids as, you know, I love working with them. I want to have kids and stuff like that. That's absolutely fine. And I don't think what he's saying here really goes past that. But my issue with what Michael is saying here is the fact that he is a teacher and refers to working with kids. There is no need for him to say this in an NSFW subreddit. And this really does begin the part of the story that a lot of people have taken significant issue with. And this does kind of lead us into a bit of an, I guess, uncomfortable conversation surrounding people that do, you know, adult work on adult websites, yet at the same time they are a teacher and that adult thing is a bit of a side hustle for them. Because naturally a lot of people out there believe that teachers should not be doing that on the side because they are working with kids. And this led to, you know, a bit of a heated discussion surrounding this sort of thing. Because, you know, some people were saying he shouldn't be doing that in general, but some were saying, well, as long as it doesn't affect his school life and he doesn't bring it into it, it shouldn't be an issue. But the problem is Michael was letting people know that he is a teacher and works with kids. And, you know, this isn't the worst part, of course, but it does lead to some, you know, interesting developments. But yeah, some people saw that Michael was saying these things on some subreddits out there where people were just kind of concerned that, you know, you make videos about kind of being a preschool teacher, you work with kids. Is it really appropriate to mention them said kids on an NSFW subreddit, even if it's just I work with them? And yeah, someone went to his comment section and questioned Michael, stating, what about talking about the kids you work with in a kink subreddit? And now Michael responds saying, I never talked about the kids. I tell people I'm at work, but I never once said where I work. Now, obviously, this is 100% conclusively a lie, as we can see right here. And also, we have seen this guy vlog the actual workplace that he works in. And yes, this was a TikTok, but at the end of the day, Michael is not very secret, or at least was not very secret about his adult content. And yes, this TikTok did come after some of the referenced posts, but as we can see, he willingly has admitted throughout his time on social media to being a teacher. It's not like he's tried to hide these facts. He's very open about it, and he's even made content about it throughout his history on social media. And the main confusing part I have about all of this is I don't really know why he would lie about this, because all of this is documented on the internet. It's like so easy to find, and now it's just popping up in TikToks, popping up in YouTube videos about this situation. And overall, in every single opportunity Michael has in this entire saga, you're just going to find out that he lies and lies and lies to whatever possible extent that he possibly can. Now, I should also just add in here, if you are worried about the safety of the kids at this preschool, don't worry. The preschool has now actually been shut down, according to a video that Michael uploaded.
Ended up moving, and like the second I moved, they shut down. And I don't remember if I told you this, but my old job shut down too, like last fall. My boss had texted me and just let me know, like, hey, I'm working on myself. And I was like, you go, queen. But they literally shut down. So it's just crazy how, like, I left my job, they shut down. I left the trailer park, it shut down. It's literally insane.
Now, given what we're about to get into, I'm not exactly shocked that this preschool has been shut down, given the quality of background checks that they give to the people that they hire, in particular, Michael. Because, you know, after a lot of people were getting concerned about the fact that this guy was speaking about his teaching job with kids on NSFW subreddits, people started to dig more into his accounts, and they started to find some posts which could be considered incredibly disturbing, concerning, whatever description you want to use. Like, for example, here you can see gay pretty boy, I'm never going to get over that name, Michael posted saying, it's giving innocent lil shy girl vibes. And I don't really care what anyone says. It's quite obvious that this guy is trying to look like a young girl. Please do not look at this and think it's anything other than that. I really, really have no time for the disingenuous, just like BS. It obviously is him trying to look. I mean, he literally says a lil shy girl vibe. I mean, what else do you possibly think he is doing here? And naturally, posts like this concerned a lot of people and caused people to dig even more into Michael. And personally, I don't understand why content like this is popular and even allowed and normalized. I don't understand how anyone in Michael's 800,000 plus follower audience at the time saw this and thought that this is a perfectly normal and good thing to do. Maybe people will come into my comment section and disagree with me, but personally, when I see people like acting like children when they are a grown adult and using that to sell adult content, I just get incredibly concerned, disturbed, and not just disturbed by the content creator, but disturbed by the individuals that they're catering to on their adult platform. They know what they're doing. Those people know what they're consuming and purchasing. It's just a sick circle of events that I personally don't agree with. But Gay Pretty Boy's Twitter account does give some indication of where the whole direction of this story is going to go. In these tweets here on November the 16th, 2022 and November the 7th, 2022, where he says, "I'm at work now, haha, I wish that's all I was doing, and me right now at work." And in these posts, he is obviously on an NSFW account, where he's replying to people who are there for NSFW content, and you can only assume that these replies are obviously replying to NSFW comments. And given the fact that this account has 25,000 followers, it very clearly is Michael and is linked to his social media where he speaks about being a preschool teacher. I think that is incredibly concerning. Michael may argue that maybe the timeline of being an OF worker and being a preschool worker aren't the same, but what we're going to get into, you'll kind of see that isn't the case, and these two things are very much intertwined. But also on some other posts on the account, there was just some really weird things that I thought I would mention, where he's clearly just promoting some just illegal fantasies, which I don't understand again why people are into this stuff. I can't say the word of what it is. It, begins in I, ends in T. I just don't understand why there's such a big market for that, and there is a market for it, we can't deny it, but to cater to it like he's doing here, just again, really, really weird, and just shows the nature of this guy, willing to do anything creepy for money no matter what. And this is just where things start to get really, really bad in this story, because yeah, more digging is happening and people are finding out more and more about this individual. And the interesting thing is I did find some posts from around May of 2024 where people were detailing the concerns surrounding this stuff, but basically every single time these people tried to criticize Michael or comment on his post with their concerns, he would delete their comments. Which is hilarious, because I've never in my time really seen a case of where an influencer has deleted a comment and it's actually worked in their benefit. It's kind of like giving somebody the silent treatment. It's only going to irritate the person that you're ignoring. Deleting comments of concern, comments criticizing you or outright exposing you, is only going to encourage those people to do even more to expose you, which these individuals absolutely did. Because you see, from around the early stages of 2024 to May of 2025, people have gone non-stop in trying to show the world what Michael was doing on his adult page. So far, you have seen some rather concerning posts, not necessarily anything that would possibly get this guy cancelled for life, but, concerning in my personal opinion. I don't really like what we've seen so far, but it's not the end of the world. But that's when we get into the leaks. Because yes, leaks started to come out in the early stages of 2024 about what Michael was doing on his OF page. And yeah, I'm not going to show every single post. I'm not going to show every single image, because ladies and gentlemen, I like being on this website. I don't want to show you somebody's schlong, but I will show you the descriptions that I've written in my research document, so my researcher has written in our research document, and that I've written in my script. And I will show occasional posts which I can, successfully manage to put into this video. Because yes, these posts, as you've probably guessed or probably know at this point, detailed Michael doing extremely inappropriate things in preschools. For example, as you can see in my document here, it states that Michael was quote unquote building up a load at work. Now, obviously, I'm not going to attach the image to that, you know, also copyright and stuff like that. I can't be doing that. That's my justification here. But yes, obviously, he's referring to a very adult thing, and he's doing that at work, which, as we've seen, if you add together the pieces of the puzzle, he has described his work as working as a teacher, working with kids. He's open about that on this same platform, and he is now describing what he is doing at work, which is, of course, being incredibly inappropriate, doing extremely adult things, and an area where children come to learn, to feel safe, to just in general trust their teachers. Because as I mentioned earlier in this video, the rule number one for teachers is to make sure that, you know, students, the kids that they're working with, are safe. And fundamentally, what Michael is doing here is breaking that rule to the maximum extent. I don't care if the kids didn't know about what was going on. He is ultimately, at the end of the day, exploiting the environment that he's in. He's trying to make it be like, oh, CD, oh, I'm at work, I'm at school doing this thing that I shouldn't be doing. And he's getting people to pay for that adult content at a place he knows he should not be doing it at. It is disgusting, it is vile, and quite frankly, I don't personally believe that this guy should have a platform after this. I know some people don't like the whole deplatforming thing, and I'm not saying that TikTok need to outright go and delete the guy's page, but I'm saying have some shame. You have built your career off this type of content. I don't think you can really walk away from this personally. It's not like you've made an oopsie. It's not like you've done something, you know, oh, I said something silly 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's like, no, this fundamental thing, you can't walk that back. But it only continues, where in one post he also states that he's asking people to snap him in a, how do I describe this, adult way. He wants you to Snapchat him in an adult way, once again, whilst he's at work. Yes, whilst he is working with children at the preschool that he works at. This is a genuine thing that he's doing, and he is making money off it. And bearing in mind, these adult companies are perfectly fine with that. Isn't that awesome? But it doesn't end there, where in another post he says, word for word, I shouldn't be doing this here. Now, what he's describing in this is a video that he attaches. And in that video, folks, I can't, go into graphic detail, but he is giving himself a bit of pleasure. That's what I'll say. It is a video. It's nothing that you want to see. It's nothing that you should search. And I'm not going to put it in this video for obvious reasons. But he is doing this in a toilet in a preschool that he works in. Now, as I said earlier, Michael actually went on to make an apology. We will get into that, in the future of this video. But fundamentally, at this point of the video, if you really wanted to, you could turn the thing off, like the video and subscribe before you go. You could do that, and you could leave thinking to yourself, this is an irredeemable, disgusting individual, and that's all I need to know. But I know you guys are going to stick about. Right? But yeah, you could instantly just turn this video off, no way about it, no apology, in my opinion, and hopefully in your opinion, is ever going to clear up on the fact that he has gone into a bathroom in a preschool, not just recorded it, but sold it to other people to consume, and, well, naturally, they're going to do things with that content. It's disgusting. It is just outright disgusting. And to think he even had the audacity to make TikToks where he vlogs the day in his life as a preschool teacher and actually shows the students in the place of where he is working, and at the same time then going into the room next door and making the content that he's making, but also being braggadocious about it. He's saying, I shouldn't be doing this here. The guy knows what he's doing. He knows that getting people interested by saying that he shouldn't be doing a certain thing, is he's doing something bad, that's going to get people interested. It's freaky little fan base that are paying money for this. They're going to pay the money for that because for some reason it interests them, and he is openly and willingly profiteering off that, which is even more disgusting. But the interesting thing is Big Mikey, he actually thinks that what he is doing, there's nothing wrong with it. But it doesn't even end there, folks. No, because you might be thinking, oh, well, I was going to say, oh, well, maybe it's limited to the bathroom, like that makes it any better. But no, it's not limited to the bathroom, because more people did digging and more people found posts of where he is quite clearly posing in photos which are sold on his explicit page of where he is in the preschool. Now, yes, in these pictures, he obviously isn't nude or anything like that, but at the end of the day, this is still going on his adult page, which is 18 plus, and he is taking these photos in a preschool. I'm not going to lie to you, folks. If I went back to the school that I went to and even took photos around, honestly, I'm thinking that's a little bit inappropriate. I don't know if I'm deep in it here, but I feel like going into like a preschool class and just taking photos of everything and monetizing it on an adult website, I just think it's very, very inappropriate. And you may be thinking to yourself at this point, well, how did Michael get away with this so long? What did he do to, convince people that this was normal? Well, as I said earlier, he didn't. He just silenced people that knew about this. Because as you can see here, there were comments from over a year ago where people were trying to spread awareness about what Michael was making money off on his adult pages, and comments like this would just be purged the moment Michael saw them. He would delete them and silence these individuals who were just giving their humble opinion that Michael is a freak. And look, I don't say that lightly, but at the end of the day, given what we're describing here, I think that is fundamentally the right description for this individual. But with more and more comments coming in about Michael, it actually led to subreddits being invented surrounding this guy. People starting open investigations on TikTok, just digging into what this guy was doing and trying to work out how people didn't know about it and what was the best way to spread this information. And yeah, of course, it led to more and more comments being deleted. But as you can see here, people even went to the point of where they would try to find Michael's comments on pages that weren't his own, just so they could comment the things that he had done, and he could not delete the comments because the comments weren't on his page. But really, at around early 2024, these pages and comments weren't really doing much. Obviously, eventually it snowballed and got bigger and bigger and bigger, but it really did just kind of feel that Michael thought he could get away with everything at this point of time, even with minor communities being, it's kind of ironic that it's a minor community, but with minor communities being built. And Michael actually at one point of time, I believe around a year ago, did actually respond to one comment criticizing him, where he goes on to state that this happened in 2022, move on. I was clearly on my own time and what happened is in the past and it doesn't define my present, love hearts. Once again, the point still stands. I never did the adult website in the classroom. I mean, yes, you did. It's literally right here, buddy. I mean, how about the post of where you literally word for word say, why do people find it hot when they find out I'm a teacher? We have gone through the screenshots. I don't know why you are so just intent on lying about literally everything. I mean, the internet is forever. We can see all of these screenshots at the click of a finger. Why even bother lying? And of course, I think even Michael eventually thought that, where he just went down the process and route of just deleting comments rather than responding to them. But also, can we just focus on something that he says in that comment there, where he says it was in 2022? Why is he saying that like it was 10 years ago? 2022 is like 2 years ago, basically. I know it's technically 3 years ago, but given the fact that we're in early 2025, it really wasn't that long of a time ago. And realistically, how much learning and growing and changing can you do in that period of time? All right, probably a lot, but is it enough to justify what we have seen him doing in the preschools that he worked at? Personally, Is it a controversial opinion to say I don't think he has learned and changed, given the fact that we've seen him burying this story? But also, hot take, I actually don't think there's any way of learning or changing or making this story good in any way. Like, I don't know if I'm being a bit mean here, but if somebody's doing some dodgy things, some things that, you know, if honestly you were doing this country, it would be called a little bit noncy. Like, I'm not saying that he is directly that, but you're in a preschool, mate. You're in a preschool doing it and recording content. That's, you know, you can understand why people are saying check the hard drives. So to me, what he's saying here, no, it doesn't matter that it was in 2022. These aren't normal things that you're doing. As you're going to discover, he kind of goes on to keep on stating in his responses in the future that this was a mistake, and it's like, buddy, oh buddy. A mistake is, sorry, I ate the bread of my housemate, or something like that. I don't know, you did friendly fire in a video game. A mistake isn't going into a preschool that you work in, record adult content in the school, which we've seen, and in the bathroom, and selling that to the sick bastards that follow you. That's not a mistake. That is a willful action that you have profited off and probably, hopefully, paid tax off. I say hopefully, you know, I don't want to add tax fraud to the list of everything. And overall, I do think that this statement also represents the fact that this guy clearly has no remorse whatsoever. The guy does not care, because yes, at this point of time, it was not on a major public scale. He had not been caught. There was just a few people grouping together speaking against him. And that's something that I kind of find funny about a lot of these TikTokers, where they will eventually get exposed massively and make a TikTok being like, I'm so sorry, let's get it out, folks, let's get it out, I'm so sorry, but you know, yeah, I've changed and I've grown. And they'll be like, well, what about the time you got called out on it 2 years ago and you didn't show any remorse, you weren't sorry, you didn't do anything to kind of show them that you're sorry, and you actually buried the story, deleted the comments, and just moved on with your life and continued doing what you were doing? What about all of that? Like, let's be real, Michael was pretty cushy. He was getting hundreds of thousands of views at this point, sometimes even millions of views. He was growing a big platform, and I don't really know how, because the content isn't very good. But you know, he was doing well, and he thought that he could ignore this because, oh, I've got my TikTok followers. But Big Mikey, he found out that you can't outrun anything. Even that infamous TikTok snail. Because you see, posts started to go viral about Big Mikey, and it led to a lot of people getting angry, and more comments were coming through criticizing him. And yes, of course, it led to Mike eventually, finally, after like a year or a year and a half of people digging things up, he finally addressed the criticism. Now, I know I said he apologized, and he did. But one thing I think a lot of people are missing here is he actually made an initial response like 2 days previously, where you can see he says, I'm not good at words. That's kind of concerning, mate, considering that you're a preschool teacher. That was a preschool teacher. A little bit concerning, but at the end of the day, given the education system in America, not really shocked. I'm not going to come on here and act like a victim. I mean, good. You're not a victim. Or pretend I've never done anything wrong. Have I made mistakes? Yes. Again, this comes into what I was mentioning earlier of where the whole mistake thing comes in. This isn't a mistake. You willfully and intentionally did what you did. Let's not paint over this. Yes, I've done bad ones. Will I let that define me for the rest of my life? No. My life is not defined by a mistake I made at the lowest point of my life. The person that you see today is the person that I am. Now, whenever I hear somebody say, oh, I had depression, I was really sad, I was manic, and I did all these terrible things, and I'm really sorry, and it's like, alright, now that can be excused for some things. You know, if you shout at someone and you regret it, or you say something which might be a bit out of pocket, but, you know, you're being a dick. Firstly, you take responsibility. You don't just say it was a mistake, you take some responsibility and you say, sorry. What he's doing here isn't that. It's just deflection and saying I was at the lowest point of my life and I was really sad. And it's like, mate, I know people that have got like the worst possible depression possible. And what they didn't do is get a job in a preschool, get an adult website, and record adult content in said preschool. They didn't do that. So I don't think you can really mix the two together. I don't think you can. I just don't think you can. But what's even more insane is that after this, he of course attaches a TikTok, and look, I'm going to sound like a millennial. I am just about a Gen Zer. I don't like this generation. We hate on millennials for being cringe. We need to start embracing the cringe, by the way. But firstly, why does Gen Z insist on posting TikToks of where they're like staring at the camera and doing something where there's like an emotional, like motivational speech playing or some epic music playing, and they're like, this is really cool? This is like your guys, like Gen Z's version of cat memes and being like small bean or whatever millennials say. Like that this is their version if it was like an apology or response to serious allegations.
There's this quote by Oscar Wilde I stumbled upon that says, "Every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future."
Yes! In a jail cell.
A reminder that we're all unfinished stories, scarred by our mistakes, yet redeemed by the hope of what's to come. It whispers that even the darkest moments...
Just look at how he's looking at the camera. He's like, listen to this little TikTok sound. I'm so smug and I'm so right about everything. You listen to this TikTok sound, guys. Isn't this a fucking awful response to allegations? Or not even allegations, just exposés?
That redemption isn't reserved for the perfect. No, it's for the broken, the flawed, the ones who've fallen and dared to rise again.
Look, I can't play this any longer because there's like copyrighted music coming in, but you kind of get the gist here. He's staring at the camera. He's got like a little smug smile in his face, and I don't really understand why. Like the whole thing of, yeah, I'm a sinner, but you know, sinners have futures. I just like, mate, get a grip. Get a grip. You're like 24, aren't you? You got to get a mortgage or something sometimes, son. Like, if you don't go to jail, like, you've got to actually do something with your life. You can't be posting TikToks like this. This is just embarrassing, aside from the allegation or exposés or anything. Like, you can't be doing this, especially given the context as well that this is his first response to everything that was going around. Just so stupid. And obviously it went down, you know, absolutely terrible. People were just kind of clowning on the guy and just stating how terrible he is. But there was also some weird comments of where people were kind of weirdly defending him, stating things such as, "Yet y'all will forgive James Charles." I'm sorry, I don't remember forgiving James Charles. I make a video on the bloke like every 4 months just being like, reminder guys, he messaged kids. But also, this is not the guy that you want to be compared to when you're defending yourself against people calling you a criminal and saying that your hard drive needs to be checked. James Charles is not the comparable defense that I think that, you know, this bloke needs right now. If anything, it's the complete opposite. But then Jenny also came along with the defense of, as a mother, I see where actions are concerning. However, growth and change is possible. I see you addressing the mistake made and growing from it. May he who lives without fault cast the first stone. What is with people when their favorite content creator or with the content creator themselves is like desperately defending themselves and they start busting out the Bible-esque quotes? It's like, you weren't saying this like 2 days ago. Why are you going on quotes.org and pulling out the most generic quote possible to defend the fact that this guy went into a preschool, recorded adult content and sold it? Why are you doing this, Jenny? Just go look after your kids, please. But it only just gets more hilarious because in the whole, you know, conversation surrounding accountability, Michael only made it very obvious that he is not willing to take any accountability in a comment that he made where he says that when being questioned about the lack of addressing things, Mike says he's not going to give in to strangers on the internet who have made their mind up on you. Yeah. That accountability thing lasted a good 5 seconds. But then funnily enough, 2 days later, he actually did, post an apology captioned, "I've never been good with words, but I want you to know the full story from my mouth. I'm sorry to everyone I let down." And look, I love a good apology. When an influencer apologizes, I feel like it's like a group event. We all kind of get together as a collective and just kind of laugh. It's like modern day, when like the past where people would get put in like a cage and we'd throw tomatoes at them. It is like the modern day version of that. Like when Colleen Ballinger made her apology, well, whatever it is, this is, we all got together and threw, internet tomatoes of, what are you doing? Why is the ukulele out? And now this apology, it again is just god-awful, where he deflects blame and pretends to take some level of accountability for 10 minutes straight. But at the end of the day, it is just a garbage apology. And yeah, we're going to take a look at it. I don't think we're going to go into the whole thing just because it's 10 minutes of pure nonsense where he blames other people and brings in a lot of personal details. Let's just take a look at it a little bit, I guess.
What's up, girly? I'm
sorry, but if you're starting up an apology or a response video to where you've been exposed to the things that he's been exposed for with, "What's up, girlies?" I'm just instantaneously not going to take any of this seriously. And it kind of, I know this is like actually his catchphrase. For a bit of context, Michael says "What's up, girlies" in every single TikTok. I kind of do just feel that you need to abandon the catchphrase in a video like this and just be a little bit more serious. But yeah, let's continue. We're like a second in and I instantly have a problem.
What's up, girly? I just had 2 really sweet girls from a church come knock on my door, and they pretty much said, like, "Do you remember requesting to learn about the word of Jesus?"
Oh, you're not doing this. You're not doing this. No. What is with every influencer getting exposed for something to do with children and they're instantly like, "I suddenly love God. I bloody love Jesus." I've got no words. There is no way you are trying to use religion as an instant get out of jail free card. Because that's exactly what he's doing here. And I don't mean this as any disrespect to somebody watching this video that is religious, a Christian, whatever. I don't have any problems with that. But I do fundamentally have issues with influencers that can't take any accountability and they instantly jump to religion. Because obviously, a big key to most religions is, forgiveness. And these influencers know it. They know if they mention any form of, "Oh, I might get close to religion," they will get some people forgiving them. And please, do not buy into this. The only reason that this guy is making this video is because it has gotten to a point of where he now financially cannot proceed with this TikTok page unless he responds. One thing that I haven't mentioned is the community of people that were looking into Michael found even more stuff about this guy unrelated to what was going on with all of the adult page stuff. He was exposed for old tweets that looked really bad, and he was also exposed for tweets about animals, of where he went on to claim things such as how he seriously hurt a cat, or how he claims that he threw his dog at his dresser and the hairdryer fell on the dog. And it's just led to more and more people saying that this guy is just not just a horrific thing for the reasons before, but now there are other reasons, and this is the only reason that he is making this response. I'm so sick and tired of non-religious influencers using religion as a way to deflect from criticism, as a shield. It is despicable, and it's honestly incredibly disrespectful to the people that practice said religions.
Learn about the word of Jesus. And so I just said, "No, but I have a lot of followers. I'm getting a lot of hate right now, so that's who sent you." And they were really nice, really understanding, and then they went on their way. But I figure we need to address it, or else people will never know the truth. People will never know my story. I've never been great at words, so that's why there's going to be cuts in this. But
how many times are you going to say that you're never great at words? As I said earlier, you were a preschool teacher. I'm not really shocked that preschool has been shut down, by the way, because apparently this guy isn't good with words and he is openly recording adult content in said premises. I mean, what kind of preschool was this?
I guess let's just start from the very beginning. And 2020 is when I made my own, and I wasn't very successful on it. and I was unemployed and I didn't really post a whole lot. So I had it in 2020, used it for like probably not even a year, and then I dropped it. And so in 2021 about is when I met my ex-fiance, and we got engaged in 2022, and we also broke up in 2022. But I would say that this whole story starts from when we were still together.
Now what you're about to witness is Michael is going to bring in the blame game, because yes, despite this being a video where he claims, I guess, to be taking some level of accountability or responsibility for his previous actions, he is going to bring other individuals into the story and basically blame them for everything.
So while we were still together, we were very much struggling with like and like just having that appeal with each other. So one thing he suggested to kind of get us going was for me to restart my hands, and then if I was making money from what we were doing, we would be like more motivated to do it more often.
Why are you telling me this? Why is there a 10-minute video about this? All this video should be is 2 minutes long of you addressing everything, saying sorry, and moving on. What you're doing here is honestly, in my opinion, trying to bore the audience for once. This is something that I've actually started to theorize about a lot of apology videos when they're insanely long, of where they're designed to be so bloated and boring that people just don't have the time to sit through them. Realistically, the only person sitting through this entire thing are unemployed people like myself, and I think even I'm bored. I don't know if I'm going to get through this entire thing, and I've already watched it once or twice, so I don't really think I need to go through the whole thing again. But just in general, yes, as you can see, zero accountability, instantly into the blame game.
That was never enough, and then it went from doing that to he convinced me to do 3. So we did a couple, and now his parents were swingers, so it makes sense that he would be into all this stuff that I was never going to be in.
Why are you telling me this in an apology video? I don't need to know this.
But I rode with it because we just got engaged and I was trying to stay together. I didn't want to be alone. After the weren't really doing much for us, it just got to a point where he would go hook up with people and it was okay if we saw other people pretty much.
Again, why are you telling me this? This all is about you recording content in a preschool. Why are you telling me this?
I never did it, but he did it a lot of times. I said no whenever he first suggested that I start my OnlyFans.
I don't need to know this. Just get into it, son.
And then it just kept, it was a lot of convincing. So then I started it again, and then it was a lot of convincing for so it was a lot of convincing for the doing it with other people.
Oh my god, stop. Stop.
And then it got to the point where we broke up anyways. Now, a lot of people know why we broke up. He was very much abusive.
Okay, now obviously, this is all terrible. You know, obviously, these things are all true. It's terrible regardless. I'm not going to get into that story. And it may sound harsh, but as I said just now, this has nothing to do with what he has done. Yes, obviously, you know, being in an abusive relationship can lead you to doing things that you don't want to do. But at the end of the day, as we've seen from all of his posts, they were him by himself in a preschool where he is surrounded, you know, by kids making these posts, and he was completely cool with that for so long. And we have seen a history of this guy burying this story, trying to justify it by saying that's not who he is anymore, and now he's trying to turn this into a, from what I gather, oh, I was kind of made into doing this sort of thing. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it, and I know that may sound harsh, but realistically, there are some things which I think you need to take some responsibility for, and recording adult content in a preschool when you are a teacher is one of them.
Was I living a happy life? No, I was completely miserable, and we ended up breaking up anyways. And after we broke up was whenever I really started going down. So after we broke up, I just started living on my own for the first time ever, and I was already doing kind of well for my own. From us posting content together, I had like 360 subs, which is a lot of money a month. I was getting a lot of money a week.
Great. Please tell us about the money that you made by posting in a preschool. Yeah. Great move, buddy. Great response.
So when we broke up, that's what I focused a lot on. And it's embarrassing how hard I try hard at it. I used to do so many things that I just don't do anymore, like wear wigs, like dress feminine.
Translation, you try to look like a little girl. We've seen the posts. Don't try to paint over this and masquerade it as something else. We know what you were doing on that page. There's no changing that.
Now, growing up how I did, it's no shock that I was really excited seeing all this money that was coming in. And so I tried really hard. I posted hundreds, if not thousands of times a day in so many Reddit pages, on my Twitter, just stuff like that. And as you know, I was working as a preschool teacher, technically pre-K, pre-kindergarten. And so I had a lot of free time at work where I would post on those apps. I did go to the bathroom a few times and snap a lot of the reason why I did that was because I was getting paid by people. And now when I said that, people thought I was getting paid by like I don't know if you can say this word. You know what I'm trying to say. People thought I was catering to them, and now with some of those Reddit groups I was in, I should not have been in. They were definitely like dad, son, trans girls. I got kicked out of a lot of groups for like not even fitting the criteria, and it was definitely weird. But when you're in sex work, I don't know. I was just too blinded by the money that was coming in. I know that's no excuse.
What I find absolutely hilarious about what he just said is there is absolutely no apology, but there seemingly is an admittance that he was definitely catering towards creeps. The things that we've gone through so far in this video and speculated over, he's basically confirmed that these things are actually legitimate criticisms that definitely hold, and he just outright doesn't deny them, but at the same time doesn't, say sorry for them. It's just, oh yeah, I was trying to make a bag. That's not a justification. That is just outright disgusting. And what you're going to kind of notice here is that he does this quite a lot throughout this response, of where he'll admit to something, barely apologize, and just be like, oh yeah, it was because it was making money, and then they'll just move on like he hasn't made things a million times worse. And then after this, he actually does start to move into speaking about when he started to do the work at school, and yeah, this was his defense.
So then fast forward to the day I took my first work. I honestly don't remember it, but I do remember that I would get paid like say $45 to take a picture. They'd say go take it, and I would. Now I never did any of this while clocked in. I wasn't allowed to have bathroom breaks like that unless it was an emergency, of course. So when I was in the bathroom, I was upstairs, classrooms were downstairs, I was far away from everyone, in the teacher's bathroom that was locked. That's another thing people are confused about, because they see that the toilets had like little training seats on it, and there was 2 toilets in the bathroom, which was kind of weird. And I think like originally a long time ago, those were kids' bathrooms and we would use them in an emergency, but for the most part, those were for the teachers.
Now, this has been a highly contentious point surrounding this entire story. People have basically been defending Michael for what he said here of, oh, it was in a bathroom that I guess wasn't near the kids. Now, also a lot of people have gone on to claim that in the video of where he is doing the certain act, you can hear kids in the background in the other rooms, either downstairs or upstairs or wherever it was. Personally, in my opinion, I don't even think that this is any defense whatsoever, because at the end of the day, he is still using a bathroom that his co-workers use, and also it is still in the same building that people go to school, little kids go to school for. I don't think that this is a valid defense being like, oh yeah, it was like 2 meters away from the classroom, so it's all good. No, you're still fundamentally, in my opinion, violating your co-workers by doing that. And what he is saying here, if anything, is just making it even worse, in my opinion. And again, what was the mention of his previous partner all about here? I guess that he's basically trying to say that he was pressured into doing this adult site, but at the end of the day, there is no correlation with the main issue that people had of him recording this type of content. He has not actually said that the person made him do it. He says that he did it because he would get paid a decent amount of money for it. So basically what I'm taking from this is, you're actually worse than I thought you were before. You're openly stating, oh, people told you to do this and you conformed to that because you wanted to make a quick buck.
Not excusing anything I did. There is definitely no excuse.
You are excusing everything that you did by making the TikTok of where you immediately brought up Christianity and used that as a way to kind of shield yourself, and then you brought up your ex, and obviously there is a potentially really sad story there with that thing, but you've used that as a shield in a unrelated situation, which is outright disgusting to all victims of abuse out there, by the way, because basically what he's kind of saying here is that he is, I guess, void of criticism because he was treated horribly by a previous partner, which, by the way, is no excuse whatsoever for doing the terrible things that he has done. But yeah, it only continues to get really, really worse from here. But at the end of the day, is anyone shocked?
But I do just want to say that it would have happened at that time at any job I worked at. If I was working at the movie theater, still would have happened there instead. It just so happened to be at the daycare, which makes everything so much more worse.
Well, honestly, I kind of say that they're both on the same level. I mean, at movie theaters, kids are there, but also you're just being disrespectful to your co-workers there, to the people that are going to that movie theater. I'm now kind of worried about going to movie theaters over the thought that is the person serving me popcorn going to be doing that in a toilet that I just went in. Just very gross, very, very gross. And given the fact that, you know, when you do certain things like that, there's obviously going to be a bit of mess, and you know, there's obvious problems, and it's just outright disgusting, in my opinion. And again, he's just self-reporting here, letting us know that, oh no, guys, I've also done this in other workplaces too. And it's like, why are you telling me this?
I didn't even fully remember anything until people went on my own and they found it for me. And a lot of people are saying that I'm still getting paid for those posts, or that they're still up, but they're not. I took those down already. And if you go to my, you'll see I have thousands and thousands and thousands of posts, and I scrolled so far as much as I could to find them all, and it was probably like 4 or 5 different posts. There's no reason or excuse I shouldn't have waited till I got home. I guess I was just too focused on the money, and at that time I hadn't started my social media career, or maybe I just started it, but I was really focused on the success I was getting on and all the money I was earning, and I used that money to start my shopping vlogs, and that's how I got started on social media full time.
So basically, you've created an empire from doing these absolutely heinous things. Great. I don't really understand any of this apology whatsoever, because he keeps on saying he's not going to make excuses, but the entire thing is just him deflecting and blaming other people, and then just letting us know it's actually far worse than we originally thought it was. Telling me that the things that I'm criticizing you for, these heinous things, are also what you built the foundations on your TikTok career off is just absolutely insane. I don't understand TikTokers. Like, do you guys have a brain? Why would you let me know this? Like, seriously, if you're going to make an apology, don't just tell me things that make it even worse. I mean, I'm glad that I know now, because I can put it in my video and let the world know that you're actually somehow worse. But either way, this is just an absolutely insane response, but somehow it only continues.
Should I have done it? No. It was gross. It doesn't excuse anything, but at the same time, I hate when people call me names when I know it's not true, or people assume that I was doing stuff that I wasn't doing just because it was at a daycare. Where it was had nothing to do with what I was doing or what I was putting out or the people I was talking to.
I love that he says this wasn't true and then proceeds to state what he did, which kind of confirms to us that, well, this was absolutely true. Like, realistically, what are you saying here that you've been called isn't true? Everything that you've described in this TikTok that you've said that you've done is everything that you've been insulted over. You've actually not disproved anything. You've only let us know that you are far worse than you actually are. And for some reason, you just keep on talking and telling us, yeah, guys, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And we've got about a quarter left of this TikTok. And yeah, I would not be shocked if you came out of this hearing even more thinking, yes, this guy is absolutely insane.
Those people did not know where I work. Those people did not care where I work. I remember I did post in some of those groups before, like, I'm a teacher. I was trying to have that shock factor. I was trying to have that thing that makes me kind of different.
It's like, bro, why? Why do you keep on self-reporting? He is now openly admitting, yeah, guys, yeah, I used the whole teacher aspect as a way to shock people into buying my content. It's like, why are you telling me this? And what makes it even more hilarious is literally 20 seconds ago, he was basically saying people don't know the truth and that he's being insulted over things that aren't true.
I hate when people call me names when I know it's not true, or people assume that I was doing stuff that I wasn't doing.
But then he outright confirms the things that he's been insulted over.
I remember I did post in some of those groups before, like, I'm a teacher. I was trying to have that shock factor. I was trying to have that thing that makes me kind of different.
I mean, it makes no sense. It's genuinely one of the worst responses I think I've ever seen. But also this proves that Michael was lying previously, where he states that he never talked about the kids and said he'd tell people at work but never told people once where he works. So yes, that was an outright lie. So if you're lying on that, why are we meant to believe? I mean, I say why are we meant to believe you? You are just admitting to everything. If anything, like, I'm starting to think, are you just trying to deliberately make this worse and sound even more terrible so we don't believe it? Because it's just so outrageously insane. But yeah, let's continue.
A lot of the captions and the things I would use, like, I know I shouldn't be doing this here, I would use as clickbait, because I know whenever you post like that on your people can see your captions, but they can't see the stuff that you're actually posting. Now, my work did know about my. I made a video about this a while ago, how people sent my news and like a letter to my bosses, and my bosses confronted me about it, but they completely had my back. They never judged me, but they found it disgusting that there were people online who were coming after me like that. And so we did what we could to protect myself and not let people know where I work anymore.
Again, this is just making me more and more concerned about the education system in America. How is a preschool worker word for word stating here that his employers at a preschool knew that he was uploading content onto his adult profile from the preschool, and they were fine with it? I mean, his defense here realistically isn't actually working in any sense, in my opinion, considering that that said preschool is now permanently closed. But at the end of the day, why do you keep on self-reporting?
And I know my full story, I know the truth, but that does not excuse what I did at the preschool, and that does not excuse. I also have racist tweets, which I know if I address this, people will bring that up. I have tweets from like 2014 where I said the most insane things. I said things about animals I shouldn't have said, like have not said. And I said things about people, groups of people, Black people, Asian people. I was very much unhinged and kind of wild as a kid, and I don't want to use the house I lived in as an excuse. There really is no excuse, but I do want to just let you know that the person I've been on social media this whole last few years, the person you've seen me grow into the last year specifically, that's the person who I am today. And so that's why I acted so removed from that and almost like I didn't care or something.
I love that we're about 7 minutes in and he's gone on to the spiel about I'm, a new person today. And obviously, yeah, maybe he is a new person today, but there is a word that I haven't heard, I don't believe, throughout this entire apology so far. And that is a good word from the English dictionary. It's known as sorry. I've not heard the word sorry. It's just excuses, deflections. And it's like, are you ever going to say, I'm sorry? Now, maybe he will. Maybe. I mean, if you want to go to the comment section and say, do you think he's going to comment yes if you do, no if you don't? Because honestly, I'm not going to lie. I watched this apology up to around 7 minutes twice and I couldn't get through it. And now this is my third time and I'm struggling because it's just like, I don't need to know more. I already know you're bad, but you're just going to give me more.
Because it was so long ago in my mind that it's not I didn't care, it's just it doesn't resonate with me anymore. I was also doing a lot of drugs, and I know I said I didn't want to bring up any excuses, but that's just partially why I don't really remember everything.
You keep on saying I don't want to bring up any excuses, and you also reference that you know you're saying it too much, and then you give more excuses. Please stop making my job so easy. And it's like, also, how are you going to say you had memory loss and that's basically why you didn't respond to things until now, when we've seen so much evidence of this guy responding to people and deleting comments? We know that you knew what was going on. You just didn't care to respond because it wasn't significantly impacting you at the time. Just admit it. It's I'd say it's normal, but just, it's not, but maybe admitting it would be probably the best step to some form of change. I just can't get over how bad this is. I think this might be the worst apology I think I've seen a TikToker ever make. Like, is this even an apology video? Like, what is this? Realistically, what do you think that this is? Comment down below any description of, is this like an admission piece, Like, I don't really know. It just is so confusing. I've never seen anything like this. This is like worse than ukulele territory.
Toxic gossip train.
This is a whole new type of YouTuber, TikToker apology. And the crazy thing is it's still not over.
Seeing it come to light, it's almost like me seeing it for the first time because I've completely shut it out of my mind, blocked it out. What I did was wrong, and I know a lot of people are going to say I'm only coming on here because I'm getting a lot of hate, and I don't know what to say to that besides, I guess, yeah, you're right, I'm getting a lot of hate, and it makes you really think, and it's really hard to not believe what people are saying about you. But
oh my god, again, he's just like, I'm glad he's admitting to it. Like, at least there's some level of honesty here where he's like, you know what, guys, yeah, I actually don't care. I'm just coming on here because I am getting hate, and, you know, it is no longer financially viable to continue doing this platform unless I respond to these things. And it's like, you know what? There is a part of me that has a little bit of respect for the brutal honesty of just being such an arsehole. Like, it's amazing, to be honest with you, that he's actually being this audacious. Like, there's no PR team here. There's no assistant. It is just pure vibes and utter nonsense. And I kind of weirdly respect... No, I don't, but... It's interesting.
I just wanted to tell you guys my story. I wanted to tell you the truth from my mouth because I know hearing it from rumors, it can sound a lot worse than it was. I promise you no kids were ever involved. What I did in that bathroom had nothing to do about the building I was in. I know I let a lot of people down, and the people I let down the most is mothers and people with kids and people who thought they could trust me and knew who I was. I just want to say I'm truly sorry. I never meant to make anyone question the type of person I was. I never meant to hurt anyone.
There it is. We finally got there, and I don't think I need to watch the rest of that because you know what? He's finally, after around 8 minutes, said the words sorry. After a bunch of excuses, deflections, blaming other individuals, he finally managed to get there. And personally, I think that was a massive load of bollocks. The main thing I'm confused about is why he randomly brought up his story and experiences with his ex in the context of everything that we've gone through, because realistically, there was no connection. There was no reasoning to say what he said. It was just there, in my opinion, as a deflection, as a shield, and as his card of please feel a little bit bad for me. And that just kind of summarizes how manipulative Michael Duvall is. It shows that this guy doesn't care about victims, and he is going to use the story of being a victim as a way to deflect from other situations that have no correlation whatsoever. And I just think that's outright disgusting. And another thing to note here is he claims towards the ending of his apology that this isn't who he is anymore.
It's just not the person who I am anymore, and I would hope that people who love me and really care about me can see me for the person who I am, the person who I have been.
Now sure, maybe Michael does believe that, but at the end of the day, I've seen so much evidence of this guy burying this story over the years that honestly, I find it pretty difficult to actually believe that, especially considering this actually wasn't his first response, and we've seen this guy pretty much just deflect away from criticism for ages now. So realistically, I don't believe what he's saying here. But another thing he kind of clarifies towards the ending of this TikTok is the reason that he mentions the church and Christians at the beginning of this TikTok was due to the fact that apparently people sent the church to his doorstep, which honestly, yeah, don't do that. That is pretty terrible. Like, don't harass anyone, don't send anyone to anyone, obviously. But yeah, that happened apparently, but realistically, again, I don't really see the need to mention it at the beginning of the TikTok because it really did just come off like he was just bringing up Christianity as a shield again to get away with things, just like he used his story with his ex-partner to shield things, when realistically, these things have no direct correlation to anything, and the video should have just been 2 minutes long and a direct apology and nothing else. And overall, the apology can only be described as absolutely terrible. Like, I'm not even joking when I say that this is probably the worst response I think I've ever seen a TikToker make. Like, this is just absolutely terrible. And as you can see in the comment section, it did not go down well. Check the hard drives. Goodbye, Michael. You can't sit with us anymore. Everything you've said just makes me uncomfortable. And then there was one positive one saying, stay positive, Michael. This will pass. We all make mistakes. And then somebody said he's only sorry because he got caught. Which is interesting because yes, Michael outright admits to that in his response video. He word for word says that yes, I'm only responding because I am getting a load of hate. And that obviously goes back to what I mentioned earlier with that this man has been trying to bury this story for over a year now. And we've shown shown that over the year he has not shown any remorse whatsoever until the majority of the community was against him and he could no longer make money. Like, let's not forget his real initial response to this situation, where he word for word tells people to move on, and this was in 2022, therefore it doesn't matter. Like, that's what his real response is. He doesn't care. Instant dismissal. Goodbye. Now, his ex actually did make a response to what he said in this video, where they said, "I am the ex. I never forced him or pushed him to do anything. His idea for extra money. I had nothing to do with any profiles or all the content. It was just a win for me because it was extra money and extra ass. Honestly, no, I wasn't the greatest partner. I slept around constantly and I did scream a lot as I was at the point of where I was still working on myself, but I was never physically with him. I pushed him off me one time, the last fight we had, because he grabbed me and area, but other than that, I never paid a finger on him, and for sure never forced or even pushed him to do anything." And then under, he confirms his identity. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I don't want to get into this situation, mainly because I don't think it really has any relevant context to this story. Ultimately, I hope that there is a resolution here, and I hope they, solve whatever is going on here. This isn't the video for that, but I did just feel like I needed to show this response, given that we've shown what Michael said in his TikTok. But another thing that people have pointed out after Michael's response was that the daycare he worked in was supposedly not multi-floored. But just looking at the photo they're providing here, I actually think it is, because you can see a little bit at the back there. Maybe there's a basement or something like that. Overall, I think there are definitely more than one floor. But either way, I don't really think it matters. That was the only argument that he made in the entire story, that it was in a bathroom that was a little bit further away than you possibly initially thought. And by the way, there still is really no proof of that, but even if there was, it would not change anything. And as I said, it would just move the disrespect onto disrespecting the co-workers that he works with, but also at the same time, this would have still taken place at a nursery, and there is still no defense for it whatsoever. And I genuinely can't believe that he made an apology or response video where he kept saying, "I'm not going to make any excuses," but all he did was make excuses. And honestly, I can kind of understand why a lot of people are saying things such as check the hard drive and arguments on that side, mainly due to the fact that his response is just, outright terrible, and you can see why it would lead to so much outrage. And of course, on top of that, this response did lead to further investigations into the preschool that he worked at. And, there were some particularly interesting things that came up. Now, one, obviously, yes, as I've shown before, this whole thing was permanently closed, but there were also some weird things on there where somebody claimed that an individual that worked at the daycare stalked and high school student unprovoked, and apparently the daycare refused to remove her from her position of care for the children, which obviously is an incredibly wild claim to make given the context of everything to do with the Michael story. Now, I don't know if what's being stated there is true, but it is very weird that that is on the page and now the daycare has mysteriously been permanently closed. To me personally, with this whole story with Michael, I think it's very clear that the nursery, preschool, daycare, whatever you want to call it, were incredibly irresponsible, and allowing someone like Michael to work there unchecked obviously is a serious issue that definitely does need to be investigated, in my opinion. And overall, I think that this story in general is just one of the weirdest and creepiest and, quite frankly, insane stories that I've seen with a TikToker. The outright admissions to literally everything, but it only turning out to be worse, is just one of the most wild things that I think I've ever seen. And at the beginning of this video, I did ask the question of, is this yet again another example of an influencer's brain completely mushed by the idea of followers and making money? Well, I actually don't think that it is. Because to me personally, the things that Michael Duvall has admitted to aren't normal, regular things that influencers do to get money and to get clout. If Michael wanted to make money, he could have continued to post on his adult website, just not in the preschool. He could have done that, but he optionally chose to conform to the individuals that he did, and it really does worry me that he still has this platform after doing these things. Now, yeah, I know removal of platforms is a very heavy topic, but just given what we've gone through, it is very, very, very weird. But at the end of the day, to kind of conclude everything, Michael Duvall is a very creepy individual, and I don't think he should get away with this anytime soon, but honestly, it's kind of looking like he actually is going to. Now, please don't go to his page and comment things, but as you can see, he is still getting some level of support despite everything. Which I guess is the place where we can end this video, because I think that is just a summary of how dark and depressing the internet can truly get. But I think the only thing we can really do is talk about these situations and just give our opinions on these situations. Please do not fall for whatever shenanigans this guy pulls off in the future, because as we've seen throughout this entire thing, he is not genuine, he lies about everything, he has tried to bury this story, and overall, the story of Michael Duvall is a very disturbing and creepy one that I don't think we should forget anytime soon. But yes, that is the end of the video. Thank you very much for coming along, people. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I can't speak English. Comment section below. And also, please subscribe to the channel. It would really mean a lot to me because, yeah, you would get access to my videos every single time I upload. And just in general, it would help the channel and help me out. So, yeah, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, that would be amazing. And also, if you have any more information that I haven't included in this story, you know, go to the comment section, comment what you want. I would really appreciate it. But yeah, I'm going to go now. I'm probably going to go to bed because this has been a very, very weird and insane and depressing story. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a great week. Peace out.